Guten Morgen, good morning, good evening, good afternoon to episode 11 of the Cobham Rugby podcast. Wee bit different today. We're not... are you clicking, Blissy? You're going to give us
giving snaps?
Yeah, no, snaps all round. Snaps all round.
Bit different today. We're not all together, unfortunately. We're all in various parts of the country, or some of us somewhere else. An international flavour to the pod today. We're going to talk a wee bit about Movember and a little bit about men's health with our very special guest who'll be on shortly, before we get into the mailbag, the Cobham Review, and other.
Cobham Review.
That's lovely, Blissy. Lovely.
Hang on, I've got to find some unsundry items on my desk to make sound effects with.
How you doing, Duncan?
Yeah, well, recovering from Friday night, feeling pretty good today. I think it was an enjoyable weekend.
Beautiful. Pete, how you look at that moustache?
Yeah, thank you very much.
Slide.
It was a great evening on Friday. A real laugh. It was a great rugby. And then Saturday we had the Cobham former players' lunch. And you saw what happened to Aaron Cowell. I think quite a few of us did that, but not quite as well as he did. Anyway, there we go. So it was a great weekend.
We all dream of a world where we can do things as well as Aaron Cowell.
At that age and scale. Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible scenes.
Yeah.
How you, Blissy?
Oh, stiff, sore, but fairly well rested after a lovely week. Like I said, as Pete said, it was excellent to see as many fellas in the club knocking around the bar and shaking hands and swapping stories. And then, of course, a big Friday night from all involved, including what I was assured was a prompt and well-behaved bus journey home. But we'll get more into that, of course.
Somebody put me in the luggage compartment at the end there. I think it was Jono.
Should we get on to our wonderful special guest?
Yeah.
Yes.
So our special guest today, a living legend at Cobham Rugby Club,
Cobham's best tourist.
Cobham's best tourist.
The captain of the HMS Twos himself, steering that ship over the high seas of grassroots rugby.
The oldest young guy you've ever met. It's a building.
Yes, Ollie.
Evening, gents. Thanks for having me.
How you doing, pal?
Welcome.
I'm blushing after that. I mean, wow, what an intro.
Don't worry, Ollie. The pleasure is literally all yours.
And I can confirm the hangover has just about worn off from the ex-players' lunch as well. I'm living up to that old name. I happened to join them all, and it was a joyous afternoon at the club.
So I'm pretty sure the only reason you still play is for the prospect of being an ex-player, which I think is what you were born to do.
Well, I'm not hanging up the boots just yet, but
no, you're not.
I will moan like an old man every other week at training, that's for sure.
Ollie, dare I say this? There's still a hint of a nasal hangover twang to the voice.
Possibly, yeah. A little bunged up. It's never good when you sat there on your Friday evening in the pub just having a quiet pint or two with some of your teammates, and you get the message that your game's cancelled tomorrow. So it was quite literally a double header on the weekend, which doesn't set you up well for the working week, that's for sure.
A 10 p.m. messaging kicking it up into fifth gear. And all of a sudden it's 5 a.m. and you've still not gone to bed.
No comment.
So, Ollie, we've interviewed the good and the great on the podcast. I'm sure you've heard us speaking a couple of times about leadership on the rugby pitch. And I've had the opportunity to play, in fact, a lot of us in the call have had the opportunity to play with you and be led by you. A tricky question to open. Like, what's your leadership philosophy on the pitch?
It's a really good question. I think my first and foremost for me, it's about enjoyment and the bringing people together. I think, as you guys know, I've stringed myself across all the age groups at the club and make a point of kind of bringing every person within there together for that kind of united cause. So for me, I think, bringing those people together and bringing the enjoyment out of it is exactly what I look for when I kind of step out there. And I just I guess I'm ultimately just trying to bring people on that journey with me on the match day.
Oh, that's brilliant. Ollie, there's a few of us sporting 20-day-old Mo's. Why are we wearing mustaches? Tell us more about what kicked all of this off.
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think myself, Blissy, Ryan Saunders, we're all kind of part of, and really Miles from your end as well, all part of what we kind of call the senior leadership team at Cobham. And I think this Movember, we thought we'd really get behind the cause and give back a little bit. It's growing the mustaches and looking as sharp as we do, and some of us looking like we're out of the set of a kind of a war film.
I was going to say 70s porno, but yeah, that's probably better.
You went there. I was big.
Joycey kept calling me Mexican on Friday night. It was because it's just going around the corners.
I could have been you were repeatedly ordering tequilas, but
it was Sambuca. It was lots and lots and lots of Sambuca.
But yeah, most importantly, really, it's all about bringing awareness. So Movember as a movement, if people listening to the pod aren't familiar with it, is really kind of, they break it up into 3 parts each year. The first part being mental health and suicide prevention. The second part being prostate cancer, and third and finally testicular cancer. So it's about raising a good bit of money to help those causes and help awareness really surrounding those. But also, it's not always about the donation of the money. It's about, with us lads particularly, starting that conversation and prompting people into it. And I think the whole thing behind the moustache is to unify for this particular month and start those conversations rolling.
We touched on it very lightly, I think last week or a week ago, about just the impact that going to the rugby club can have. But what does that mean for you, Ollie?
It's so important. I think we all know what the modern world's like. We all have high stress jobs, busy environment, particularly now the nights are getting dark. I think by unifying twice a week at the rugby club, most importantly also for me, getting a bit of exercise in, it's a fantastic way to come together, to be able to talk about some of the things you may be struggling. It's always an open environment at Cobham, and that's really why I love the club like I do. There's not anyone in the club that I wouldn't be there for and have a conversation with across the age groups. But yeah, by uniting together, training, playing rugby, which is ultimately a very physical game where you have to come together to achieve a common goal. Really important aspect of personal my mental health. Everyone, as I said, has their ups and downs, and it's always a shining light in my week to get down to the club, see you all, and talk about it.
Fantastic. Ollie, it's Pete. I just wondered, how's it going with the twos this year, and any highlights?
Well, there's definitely been some highlights. So as the season's gone, we've been going really well, actually. We've been blessed with squad depth across the younger age groups, but also being able to lean on the vets and the kind of vast numbers of people that they get down to training to bolster the effort. A bit of a theme, unfortunately, this year has been a few cancelled fixtures. I touched upon it earlier. But us as a team, we've been very lucky to be able to get the numbers out week on week when the opposition have been able to play us, and we've had some really stellar games. So going to go straight to Reeds Weybridge, a local rival. We put 40 points on them away from home, which is always lovely. Lovely.
Big smile, lovely. Ollie, I just want to touch actually, because I'm the chairman of the Braemar Allstars, and you've just talked about mental health and the benefits of meeting your mates at the club. The Braemar Allstars were formed about 35 years ago, and it was an ex-pupil came to the club to watch old Serbs play, didn't recognise anyone, and a couple of days later took his own life. And then 2 guys, Dickie Blackman and Pete Newland, you wouldn't remember them, but when I first started playing at Cobham, they were in the first team. They decided this should never happen again. So they formed the Braemar Allstars. And then about 2015 and 16, some of the year 2000 All-Stars, me included, joined them, and it turned into the Braemar Allstars. And people have this idea that it's an old serve thing. It's not an old serve thing. It's not really just a Cobham thing either. It's much more about a former players group with some supporters who get together, like we did on Saturday. You talk about nonsense about how great you were playing rugby, etc., etc. And we do a bit of funding. We paid for the sign on the road. We contributed to the fun bus on Friday night, and we sponsor mini festivals and all sorts of different things. But it is a great way to get together. And sometimes those are people I only see once or twice a year at lunches at the club, but I can't say, how important that is. And 35 years ago, you probably wouldn't have talked about it in terms of mental health, but that is exactly what it is. It's getting together with your mates and whatever else you've got going on in your life for a couple of evenings or afternoons a year. Sit back and relax and just have a few beers. So yeah.
Good evening, Fielding. Kind of rounding out this. We've got to ask the question. I'm sure it's been on everyone's minds, particularly over the last couple of weeks. I know that it's really kind of starting to kind of grind my gears, but the question that I've got to ask is, who currently has the best tash in the club, and why is it Pete?
Well, I think we all know Pete's always been rather blessed in that department. And as you can see, he's sporting an incredibly strong tash. Unlike some of us who, I'm going to say it's my German heritage. It's my fair nature that makes my tash so poor. But yeah, there we go.
The correct answer. And then aside from that kind of strange German caterpillar you're sporting in your top lip, who has the worst tash in the club? Quick follow-up.
Oh, worst tash. Oh, you've put me on the spot there. I'm trying to remember. There was definitely someone in the bar that I saw on Saturday. I thought, God, that's not a look. But let me have a think. I think just because he's sat there so quietly looking smug, and I do like pointing the blame at Mark Duncan. Well, I'll go Mark Duncan.
Well, there you go. For those who might not be able to hear,
quality.
Mark Duncan, worst tash in the club. Repeat, worst tash in the club.
Thanks.
And then last one before we probably have to let you go to do some form of physical exercise or I believe it's tag rugby tonight. How can someone donate to the Cobham Movember cause or the Movember cause in general?
Yeah, so there's a couple of ways to donate. If you're in the clubhouse itself, across most of the major notice boards, there's a QR code you can scan. I'm going to presume that that's also out on the majority of Cobham socials. So if you go to Facebook, Instagram, have us search back a couple of posts. I think we did a mid-month review of some of the tashes the lads were sporting, and the links just under there. So any donation, big or small, greatly appreciated.
Excellent.
Brilliant initiative, Ollie.
Yeah, really superb.
I know. Just hearing, but Pete, I didn't know that's how the Braemar Club was formed. That actually means an awful lot.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that we're talking about it as rugby is the sport and Cobham Rugby Club is the place that you can come to on an evening. You're dead right, just to decompress. Ollie, thanks very much. Thanks for doing what you've done.
My pleasure. And just to jump back to something Pete also said, I think the all-important part in that was some of these friends, some of these people, it can be once or twice a year. It doesn't necessarily need to be every week. And some people do get kind of in your own head about not messaging a mate because you've been a bad mate and you've not messaged them for a few months. That's exactly the time to reach out.
Agreed. Brilliant,
pal. Good luck for the rest of the season. And thanks again for coming on the pod.
Pleasure.
Thanks, Ollie.
Thanks, Cheers.
Always a pleasure, Ollie.
What a boy.
Oh, top lad.
Brilliant.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah.
A fine gent. A fine gent.
He had he was Julian's roommate in Jamaica.
Yeah.
And that went well, I assume.
That went well.
Yeah, Julian that every night. So.
Shall we break for Pete's favourite part of the pod?
Listen, I'm gutted. I'm not in it this week. I'm going to have a word with my agent. This is ridiculous.
Oh yeah, right. Let's break for an ad.
Oh Jesus! How are we going to do the sound effects?
I'm doing it now, Blissy. For goodness sake.
Well, do it better.
I'm only one person. Cheers.
Jimmer, how's it? I'm looking for my good friend Pete.
Hi, Luke. So nice to see you. Pete? Which Pete?
Oh, that's horrifying. But, Pete, that handsome chap and part-time bootlegger from the Braemar Club, made up of all the Cobham elders.
Oh, yes, of course. Mr. Christie. What a lovely chap. I'm afraid I've not seen him today.
Oh, he was meant to bring me about 4 bottles of his cupboard sloe gin that I managed to sample last week, as there are so few things I need to forget. That is right. Well, could I leave this with you to give to him?
Sure. What is it?
Well, as payment, I bought him some biltong and Drew Wars from Billy Tom.
Ooh, Biltong by Billy Tong is available at the Cobham Bar or online at https://billytong.com. Select from over 20 flavors, the best choice if you are looking for a high-quality, protein-packed snack.
My God.
I don't think Stephen King could have written that any worse.
That's amazing. No wonder I was left out.
God.
Horrific.
Duncan doing Gemma is going to be my new sleep paralysis demon.
She's not going to talk to me for some time.
Nothing to talk like that, mate.
Yeah. Pete's actually wiping the tears from his eyes. Well done. Shall we jump into
that was with zero practice. I don't have a British accent.
Perfect. You have a future in marketing, Duncan, if you're not there already.
Blissy, give us the Cobham review sting, please.
Right, so we're gonna go to a minute. It's the Cobham review.
Excellent.
It's the Cobham review.
So I just wanted, before we get into the rugby, was just a shout out to Jackie and the team behind the bar, the chef and the kitchen team for Saturday. The food was fantastic. And the drink flowed. It was marvellous. I just want to have I hope Tony Bork was listening to this, because he rang me and he said, Pete, what menu do you want? And I said, well, why are you asking me? He said, because then if someone doesn't like it, I can say it wasn't my fault and point the finger at you and throw you under the bus. Thanks, Borky.
Always tricking the book.
Yeah.
Speaking of buses, a big thanks to the Braemar Club. Yes, look at that. Slick as. A big thank you to the Braemar Club, and especially Pete, for their contribution to the bus to let the old boys, the vets, which starts at 35 and over, but none of our players were under 40 on Friday night, take a trip down to Farnham to go and play Farnham on what was a really small pitch. There was the 10 meter line off the kickoff was closer to the 22 than to the center line. So it was a really small pitch, and it was an absolute mud patch. But the Cobham Allstars, the vets, came out victorious, 40 points to 19. That was down to 6 tries from Jono, Howard, Haddock got a couple. Miles Hill scored. However, Hugh was down injured and didn't see it, so it doesn't count as Miles' try. We're gonna give that one to Ewan for giving the pass. But Dave Marden picked one up off an incredible pass from Jeff. And if you get a chance, there is a video link to watch the whole game, and you probably need to speed it up if you want to look at rugby, because it for some reason it just looks really slow. But I can't quite put my head on it. And then Nick Smith also picked one off at the end. Owen putting over 5 conversions before he went off injured. But it was a fantastic night after the game. We got into the bus and made our way down to the castle. So Julian can have a free shout out here for hosting both rugby teams in the bar. We had some beers. We had
Brave that.
DOTD and man of the match, which was man of the match was Julian and DOTD was Owen for trying to clear a kick and one of their players just caught it like right in front of him. It was pretty unbelievable. And then there was another one where he kicked the ball and hit the guy in the face. But yeah, no, it was a great night. Many sambucas. Apparently, the worst way to drink a sambuca is to swish it around in your mouth for a minute. We had Andy Lister insisting that nobody was allowed to not do this and gargle it, and the fire you end up with after that is immense. But it was good nights and a good sing song on the bus ride home. We weren't so good at the hymns with Ewan leading, but we were excellent at 90s Britpop and national anthems. We belted out. Well, I did in Nkosi Sikeleli, of course.
Bless you.
Thank you. We did Australia Fair. We did the Scottish anthem. And then we did Jerusalem and the English national anthem. So it was quite a good fun trip.
Excellent. Mark, that is the first time I've heard a vet complain about a pitch being too small. Surely they usually complain that they're too little big.
Well, on a Wednesday night, we normally play across the field.
Right.
On a half. But no, it was good.
Brilliant.
A great game. I watched it with a former All-Star, Dave Barrow, a good friend of mine, and we were in the bar beforehand talking about, well, I wonder whether we would have beaten this side. He's still fighting the argument, and I'm just saying there's absolutely no chance. The rugby was tremendous. I was very, very impressed.
Wow.
Nice. So get online, give it a watch and a review. The young at heart boys, still going strong.
Blissy, what about your take on Saturday then?
Oh, good. We've had a couple of tough ones, fellas, I won't lie. The final score being 16-44, in my humble opinion, I don't think really reflects how closely contested a lot of the game was. Fair play to Sutton and Epsom, very well drilled side, defended particularly well inside their 22 in the second half, I thought, really stifled us in that area. And having watched the footage of the game back, their 10 had a great game off the boot. Really directed them around the field really well, pinned us back, made us work very hard, and must have gotten at least 25 points off the boot.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, really kicked us to death. Another try for Chris Lippiat, who's churning them out at a fairly outstanding rate for a front row forward. Andrew Murphy returned to the fray, included a try, a couple of line breaks, and then unfortunately he had to leave the field early as his finger, which has been straightened out by a pin for the last 4 years, bent for the first time in 4 years. So shout out to the the Sutton Epsom prop for being that heavy, because his finger can bend now, which is pretty interesting. And then I'd like to give a shout out as well to the under 10s that were our companions for the warm up, and our ball boys for the afternoon. And a particular shout out to Jack Schofield, whose 10th birthday is today.
Happy birthday, Jack!
Yeah, I hope you have a great day, Jack. He did a great job running the tee on for Johnny Holmes.
Excellent.
Brilliant, Jack.
Much
well done, Jack. Good man. Good man. Blissy, again, 12 players from Mini and Youth in that starting squad. So fantastic.
Yep.
And an interesting result, Battersea beaten 10 points to 37 by Old Alanians.
Indeed, who are, as it turns out, our next opponents after our bye week, down at their place, a place that I know fairly well, having played there quite a few times during my club and school days. It is an interesting surface, we'll say. So we'll have to manage that. But very much looking forward to locking horns with them after what I'm sure will be a pretty fiery couple of training sessions under Davo's watchful eyes to get us ready.
Right.
What about the youths then? So I wasn't coaching this week, actually. I was watching. I had the brood with me. And I will say this, I really enjoyed watching the kids play whilst speaking to all the mums and dads that I don't usually get a chance to. So it was very nice. And one wee piece I've got here on our production sheet, and yes, we do have a production sheet, is just a wee call out about how the mini section needs the whole club support, right? We want our kids, when it's dark and stormy and wet and windy, to get out there and in some way try and enjoy the game of rugby, right? And I hear a lot of people say, it's about the future. I don't think we at the pod feel it like that. We certainly don't as the coaches of all the teams. This is the now. They are playing for their current club, right? And so wherever you can, mums and dads, get out there and support.
Indeed. Righto. And on to the results, I suppose. The under-12 boys hosted London Welsh and Farnham for a triangular festival of rugby. Awesome fun had by all with a selection of great photos available for review on Facebook for the parents and boys that took part in that event.
Yes, and a narrow loss for the under-14 girls against Dorking. Had it not been for a slow start, they could have won. As ever, looking after the ball is key, and Cobb were inclined to try the offload too many times.
Classic Cobham, that.
Yeah, I don't have that problem. I don't think I've ever passed the ball. In fact, when they played well, they were really good, and will look to start quicker against Farnham next Sunday. Hopefully, they can pick up where the vets left off.
Yeah,
onwards and upwards.
Okay, so 3 under-13 boys teams out yesterday. Under-13 Tigers went down 40 points to 45. That must have been a great game.
Hell of a game.
45.
Very competitive match. Special shout out for Sean O and Ben S, who played very well in the centres. Super proud of the effort shown against strong opposition. Under-13 Lions won 50 points to 20. Another points fest. Wonderful play all over the field. Performance of note, Oscar E, who tackled fantastically, combined with strong direct running. That's all we like to see. Great to have Max Gordon back after a spell playing the round ball game. Under 13,
well done for making the right decision.
Under 13 Leopards won 50 points to 30. My goodness me, more points.
Free scoring these under 13s.
By the young match official, Grace. Many thanks to her. Well done. Full marks. In the match, Noah H was unstoppable and Thomas M tackled like Peter Steph Detroit.
Lovely. Under 15 boys lost. Oh, this is chunky. Lost to Dorking 36-0.
Hey.
Positives are that we still have a high number of boys from non-rugby playing schools in the squad. 13 out of 21 this week. On the whole, complacency killed us. And Dorking stacked their lineup and took advantage of the small stature in the Cobham squad. Some interesting stats from the game. Penalties against Cobham 2. Penalties against Dorking.
And they still lost 36.
Well done for whichever dad that was with his notepad on the sideline.
And a clicker. Like a bouncer.
Yeah. Had him banged to rights.
Yeah.
No.
Well, the boys never give up. And looking forward to round 5 of the Surrey Cup next Sunday.
Cup rugby, can't beat it. All right, moving on. The under-16 boys losing narrowly to Old Reigatians 26-22, a nail-biter. The boys delivered an extremely strong second half and were down to 13 players versus 15 for some of the game. So backs against the wall, came out strong in the second half. Unlucky fellas, again, right, we can't, what doesn't kill us makes us stronger.
I can't hear the word dorking without thinking of it as a verb. What are you doing this weekend? I'm dorking.
I'm dorking.
Yeah,
it's like not again. Surely you can do something else.
Yeah, just in my nature. The under-16 girls lost in a great scrap against Bracknell. We think the score was 43-22. A great game played in good spirit with a super young match official with the whistle. Looking forward to the home leg. So Bracknell coming to visit us, and hopefully anyone who's around comes down to support that.
Very nice.
All right. Well done, youths and minis. Cracking. How about a wee rugby review?
Yeah.
We'll get into it.
Absolutely. A huge
believe-
shout out to Gabriella Negrelli for playing for Bristol in a 48-5 win against Sale Sharks at the weekend.
Yeah,
That's fantastic.
Friend of the
Gabriella.
podcast. Well done.
Absolutely.
Exactly. If you come on the pod, you are almost guaranteed to completely batter whoever you're playing immediately having come on. That is a fact.
Hat tricks for Ollie and our guest later this weekend.
That'll do.
Yeah, no. Ollie, if Ollie now doesn't win and breaks that, then I don't know. I think he owes us all at least 20 quid.
I think that's fair. What about Premiership? MC Bath Bristol?
Yeah, I watched it. Yeah. Very tight game. I mean, so 20 points to 19 final result, but that actually Bath were 17-7 up at half time. So they only scored 3 points in the second half, and that was a 67th minute penalty to win the game. So it's Finn Russell. Ollie Lawrence was on fire again. Just fantastic. So I think him and Finn Russell, it's really working for Bath. Amazing.
Ollie Lawrence, that's the first time I can remember seeing him in the flesh. That he looked unreal.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, him and Finn are doing something special at Bath. And I think I say like a shout out to Johan van Graan, who's done an absolute job with Bath. I think like if you look at how they were playing in the latter kind of stages of the Stuart Hooper era, with a lot of very similar players, and to how they're playing now, there's more bite, there's more fight, there's a drive, there's a real want to really properly beat teams and stamp themselves on the game. I think it's a while, because Razzie's clearly got quite a bit left in the tank and plenty more tricks up his sleeve. But I think Van Graan is going to end up at the helm of the Springboks at one point if Bath keep getting better.
It was an interesting game in that the 12-13, both teams had the bigger centre on the outside. So it was Ollie Lawrence at 13 for Bath, and it was Vakatawa at outside centre for Bristol. So, you would normally, maybe I'm being a bit crazy here, but I would normally expect them to be the other way around. So it was quite interesting to see that.
Yeah.
I know, Maz. When it's when the Springboks are fielding Berlende and Esterhuizen as the 12s, you're like, well, clearly the 12 is the big one.
Exactly.
What about the Exeter? Anyone catch the Exeter Gloucester game?
Yeah.
Yep. Again.
Blissy, you called this last week, by the way. You said...
Yeah, Fortress Sandy Park. They're like... The Chiefs aren't. I mean, they've got Newcastle away. I think this week or next week. So that might change. But they struggle to travel. But man, Exeter don't give up at home. Like Gloucester, I thought played incredibly well. Probably their best performance of the season so far. They went down to they had I think 2 yellow cards, but managed the game incredibly well. Created that opportunity for Slade to win it at the death.
Yeah.
With his boot, which he bloody loves doing at Sandy Park, and Fortress Sandy Park. And again, in a rebuild year, if you don't lose at home, you're going to go quite far.
Yeah, they definitely got out of jail with the last kick of the game. Well, the clock was in the red, I think, when it went over the post. Yeah.
Indeed. Jack Gendel treating himself to his one smile of the week on that at the end of that game. And then do we want to talk about the Quins game?
Difficult not to.
Yeah.
6 tries for Sarries. 6 tries.
Yeah.
And actually Quins got one, but only in the 73rd minute. I mean, Saracens were scoring plenty of tries, but their defence was quite exceptional. To keep Quins out for that long, one of the best attacking sides, in the Premiership. Quite an amazing defensive performance.
Yeah, I think if I could sum that game up in one word, it'd be bullied. Harlequins couldn't really stop anything that Saracens seemed to be doing. Saracens forwards were walking around the field. It seemed more or less at will, which and Quins' pack is not to be trifled with. But I think, the Saracens obviously kind of took a bit. Were clearly reading the shithousery that the Quins social media accounts were putting out before the game. Took it somewhat to heart, and had Harlequins had a pretty rubbish Saturday evening.
Yeah, there's a bit. I saw the bit probably from about 55 minutes on when I think Danny Kerr came on, and they did. I saw Quins did sharpen up and move into second gear, but I think I love the word you used, bullied. That's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If only we knew someone that spent 500 quid on a ticket for the game.
If only.
Yeah, if only that would be that would have been hell of a. Yeah, God. I mean, being a Quins fan and spending 500 quid to go and watch that would have been rough.
All the curry in the world would make up for that result, would it?
I think the only way to rectify that is to try and drink enough beers to make the pound per beer price of the tickets reasonable. And I think that's the only way to tactfully.
Apparently it was £1,000, not 500. Two tickets.
Each ticket was
each ticket was 500 quid. So that's
twice as much drinking in that case.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Did anyone see Alwyn Jones's last game for Toulon?
No.
Didn't catch it, but I'm going to miss him making 10 carries for 10 meters.
Why is he not playing the whole season?
Game after game.
I don't know.
He was injury covered for the World Cup. That was why Toulon took him on.
He wanted a slightly more active holiday to the south of France than he would have had usually, basically.
Yeah.
Can you have a guess, please? Did you know he's the most capped rugby player in rugby history?
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Is it
some of the
158 for Wales and 12 for the British Lions, I think.
Well done, you're all over this today, mate.
Absolutely
unreal.
You know I love a stat.
He does love a stat. Do you know how many senior caps, or do we not have a number that high?
I don't know. No idea.
God, yeah. No, I saw a tweet that was like Daffyd Jenkins, who's literally just broken through. I think he's already got 12 caps for Wales at age 20. He now has to play 10 international caps a year until he's Alan Wynne-Jones's current age to, I think, equal him.
Amazing.
Which like without injuries. So every year without an injury, 10 caps. Good luck, David.
Mark, did you see the Leicester game, Mark?
I did not. I watched just the Handré Pollard highlights.
Okay,
which was online, which I thought was absolutely.
Yeah. So you watched the Leicester game then?
He's just so cool and calm the entire time. He doesn't look flustered.
Yeah,
and he's barking out orders. Changing the dynamic. Don't tap and go, kick it out. Let's just work through a ball rather than just.
To be fair, when you've done literally what he's just done, like playing a Midlands derby in front of a home crowd, and to be like, well, this is easy.
Yeah, it was quite. It's amazing because South Africans scored all of the Leicester points.
Oh wow!
Van Wyk and
Van Wyk.
Yeah, and the back row forward, the 8.
Visa.
No, the other guy.
Oh, Liebenberg.
Yeah.
Liebenberg's a bit of a forgotten man in the general Saffron rugby setup. Like, he absolutely tears up for Tigers, and there's no mention of him. Although,
the Dupree brothers don't make it in. There's a fair few that don't make the grade.
There's Roos for the Stormers. Yeah, I mean, like I said, you said, Duncan, being a back row in South Africa, you got to be pretty on it to get a sniff for the box. But I mean, Visa's in there looking like, ever since he shaved his head, he's somehow managed to look more terrifying.
Yeah, my favorite bit is that he's missing a tooth. So when he takes his gum shield out, he smiles with that.
So we drop into the Cobham mailbag.
It's time for the Cobham mailbag.
Oh yes, empty the mailbag.
Right, here we go. Under 12 player, I love this. Under 12 player Jack Walker had a bit of a bad injury on Sunday, and during his high levels of acute pain, attended to by Dr. David Silver, well done, Dave, again, he seemed concerned that this would make the Cob Pod. So there you go, Jack. Your pain on Sunday has made the Cob Pod. Congratulations, mate.
Well, hopefully you recover soon, Jack. Hopefully it's not too serious, and you're back on the field.
And don't keep getting injured so that you keep getting back onto the recovery pod.
We also give shout-outs for good performances.
Yeah.
Right, here's what a truly international email arrived all the way from north of the Watford Gap. So the
There's something north of the Watford Gap.
There is
News to me, mate.
Ex-doctor at Fylde RFC, which is where Jason Robinson played, and Bill Beaumont, maybe, I think.
And Bevan Rod.
Who knows? But he's asked us to have a little look at, and maybe something for the next pod, is how rugby has changed over then and now. So, Pete, this is right in your wheelhouse.
Oh,
right?
yeah, that's enough of that.
Things like height and weight in players, things like preparation for international, things like how you got tickets. We could do a bit of a Cod Pod time machine, contrasting here and now. Thank you to Dr. Stephen Reid for that, who also happens to be my father-in-law. There we go.
Oh, very nice. A family affair. Right. From the mailbag, Duncan, how big was the bar tab at the Castle pub?
It was perhaps a couple of £100. This may or may not be expensed.
Per head. Was that per head?
Asterisk.
Send the bill to the Braemar Club.
Yes. No, not to the Braemar Club. But no, we just wanted to make sure that we had a really good time, and I think we managed that somewhat.
Yeah.
Speaking of a good time, see, I did it again.
Oh, segues.
Cobham,
it's so slick.
Seniors are going to tour Nashville in April next year. I think it's from the 18th to the 24th of April, I believe. I might be wrong. We have one match in the book already, although I'm trying to twist Sneedy's rubber arm to get a second game in, but we've got one game confirmed for the 20th of April next year. The kit is being designed at the moment by committee, which is proving quite fun.
We've got one eagle on it, but I'm determined we're going to get more.
Yes, it's the cowboy boots that do it for me. But we are looking for a scrum half, so either any of the Saunders, or if Smudger could get that ginger spice dress ready and come join us in Nashville, that would be great. There's one seat left on the plane, so we dearly love a scrum half. Otherwise, the backs are just not going to see the ball at all. We're just going to put it up our jumper and keep it between the fives.
Yeah, no, can confirm that tour is going to be pretty yeehaw. So if there's a nine out there who wants to sample some good country tunes, play Nashville Rugby Club and maybe one other, and get some fairly flair kit, as well as generally hang out with 24 other blokes in a foreign country, get your name down.
Boom. Yeah. All right. It's that time again. It's the Cob Pod Super Mega Hard Quiz.
Oh, baby.
We are delighted. Have you just joined? Yes, just joined there. We have Luke Westgarth-Taylor. Hello, Luke.
Yes, Lukey.
Hi, Luke.
Snaps all round.
Gentlemen, are we well?
Oh, we're good. Look,
can you much better now you're here, Lukey.
Can you please introduce yourself in 5 bullet points?
My name is Luke. I play rugby for Cobham. As you can hear, I'm definitely not from here. I'm from sunny South Africa, Cape Town, born and bred. And my original club is Villager Football Club in Cape Town. That's me in a nutshell.
Beautiful. Right.
Very nice.
Given your sporting heritage and pedigree, and quite frankly, facial hair, we have gone a slightly different tack for today's quiz. It's not just about Cobham or Cobham Rugby Club, but it's about the rules. No.
Laws.
The laws. The laws of rugby union.
All right. So this is probably going to be the super most mega hard quiz that we've had on the pod to date. But I'll kick it off with question number 1, Luke. When is a ruck formed?
This is where I fail on the field. A ruck is formed when a tackle is made daylight is shown, and there's a competition from either side with a minimum of one player.
Spot on. A ruck is formed when at least one player from each team are in contact on their feet and over the ball, which is on the ground.
Hoo-ha.
That sounds like Law 15.2 to me.
Oh, please.
Sorry, I could have read that bit. But,
Right, Luke, question 2. What happens if a team kicks the ball through their opponent's dead ball line off the field of play?
It's a 22 dropout or a scrum where the ball was kicked.
Oh, full marks. Yeah, spot on.
Jesus.
Yeah. Do you want to know the law number or not?
We don't exploit the rules at all in South Africa.
Okay. I don't know. It's not written down like marks anyway.
What rules?
7-1.
They're more like guidelines anyway.
They're more like guidelines.
Like guidelines. Right. All right, Lucky. Question 3. What happens if a ball is taken over the opposition's try line and is held up in goal by the defending team?
It is. So, hang on. So it's carried over by
the attacking team, held over by the defending team.
It's not. It's a goal line dropout.
Spot on.
Yeah, very good. Very good.
This is
Luke,
good.
you're so much better at knowing the laws when there's a quiz and not an actual game.
Adrenaline. Aggression and adrenaline.
All right, look, here we go. Question number 4. Again, if you answer all 5 questions correctly, you will receive 3 wonderful juicy bags of biltong. Simple one. This: when are you not allowed to take a drop goal?
The only time it's from a free kick. So
this guy's good. This guy's really, really good.
Bingo. Yeah.
Well done. Mick, you should read that whole law.
That is quite a lot. Shall I read it out? It's quite long. The team awarded a free kick, including where they opt for a scrum or line out instead, cannot score a dropped goal until the ball next becomes dead or until an opponent has played the ball, has touched it, or has tackled the ball carrier. Any such kick is deemed to be unsuccessful and play continues. In effect, one phase has to occur between a free kick being taken and a drop.
Epic. I didn't know that. I didn't know that you couldn't kick from a set player.
Yeah, so yeah, there we go. Right.
Enough.
Question 5. This is to take home all the prizes. Can a try be scored by someone who is in touch?
Like as an out of the field.
Correct.
Oh.
Can I try? I feel like this is a trick question, but no. Yes.
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 Can't wait to find out how.
Yes, providing they are not holding the ball. Law 21.9. If a player is in touch or touch in goal, they can make a touchdown or score a try by grounding the ball in goal, providing they are not holding the ball. So if you're standing outside the try area, so beyond the try area or to the side of the try area, the ball is sitting in the field of play and no one has touched it, you can touch down the ball and it is try.
Okay.
Even if you're out. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Nice.
Great.
We're gonna have to do Roman voting again.
Ooh.
Thumbs up from me. Thumbs up from Duncan. Pete's gets thumbs up. Yeah. 4
Yep.
thumbs up. I think we're good.
Big
Luke's
react.
put his up too, so
Yeah.
I'll try and keep it that then.
Yeah.
I am very surprised we ended up with 5 right answers because I looked at some of these as you're describing them, were quite difficult to visualize. Look, very well done. Great.
Thanks very much, gents.
Coming your way. Thank you so much for joining. Give him a round of applause.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well done, Luke.
cheers,
Nice,
Luke.
Luke.
Thanks, gentlemen.
We can try all of those the next time we run out.
Yeah, so keen.
All right, look, bang
Cheers,
yourself on
gents.
you, and we'll see you later on.
Bye.
Nice. Cheers, Luke.
Cheers, Luke.
So, guys, that was episode 11. How do you think that went?
Yeah, I thought it was okay, didn't it?
It went pretty well.
Yeah.
Covered a lot of ground. A lot of important topics.
We did.
Like, yeah, I
Sorry
mean,
we're not all sitting together.
What's the email address, Mick? What happens if people want to get in touch with us? If they've got a question or a shout out?
Good question. Yeah, just drop us an email at cobhampod@gmail.com. You'll
Very
even
nice.
receive an auto response from us to say that we'll include it in the next programme, as many of you have. Thanks very much.
we are incredibly tech savvy.
Really enjoyed chatting to Ollie there, by the way. You know, he's mentioned some super important stuff. And I have taken it upon myself to maybe just make an extra effort to get down to the club. Even if I'm injured, I'm still going to pop along, grab a beer, come and say hello. That's my action from this Zoom meeting.
Yeah. So what we take forward.
Yeah, I think that's us. Anything else? Any afterburners?
Quick
one shout out. Sorry, Blissy, go on.
No, after you. Oh no, Pete. Mine was going to be to our corporate paymasters. So you go for you.
Okay, I'm just going to mention we talked about the Braemar Allstars. It's a former players and supporters group, but actually quite a few of the current All-Stars have joined. If you're interested in joining, my email address is peter.w.christie@outlook.com. Drop me a line and I'll tell you all about it.
Pete, can I shortcut that by just signing up now?
Yeah.
Here you go. That was easy.
Cool. So you got one, Pete. Okay. Actually, two shout outs from me, actually. First of all, to our artistic whiz, Dan Taylor, who remains very much live, very much still pens in hand, and open to commissions for Christmas presents, as Christmas is careering down the tracks with some quite worrying speed. So yeah, Dan Taylor out there for your Christmas presents needs. And then finally, yes, as I mentioned, our corporate overlords at Savills Estate Agents, Russell Cook Solicitors, SPL Villas, and Matthew Woods Wealth Management. A continued thanks for their sponsorship patronage. Please keep your signs up around the place.
Can I suggest something, gents? I wanted to check if you were up for it, and I thought trying to catch you on the pod might force things along a bit. But I think we should do
this could be edited out later.
A live Secret Santa opening of gifts between us, and so I'm more than happy to get enlist Mrs. Duncan, who's doing our under 11 dads or coaches group Secret Santa organization to plan for us. I think we should probably include all the guys behind the microphones and screens as well.
Agreed.
Perfect.
Get them something. So we'll plan a date, but definitely going to do a live unboxing.
Brilliant.
Segment for the Christmas pod.
Correct.
Christmas pod. I love that. Brilliant idea. Yes, please. So to producer Mark, this has been a Mark Marieve production. Thank you, pal. Podmaster Sneed in the background. Can't see you. Know you're there somewhere.
Podfather Sneed lurking in the background as always.
Thanks, lads. Loved it.
Rugby is the